VPN at technophilespodcast.com. I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast.
And that kind of opened the door to biohacking for a lot of people because it was easily accessible and right at the start of the maker revolution as well.
On this episode, V talks about the emerging phenomena of biohacking. The cast also briefly discusses Facebook's new ability to live stream from a PC, as well as rocket balloon hybrids known as raccoons. Don't forget to disinfect your implants because this is the Technophiles 326th episode. Hello and welcome to tonight's episode. I am here with two of the regular cast members, V Lobs and Jake Gill. Sadly, Crystal Lee Malone is deathly ill tonight based on the messages we received earlier today.
Yeah, it did not sound good.
I think she's on the mend, but
on the mend.
She was also afraid of infecting us with nasty flu.
She was very
Jake,
thoughtful.
didn't your wife say if you've at this point you're probably still contagious? She kind of speculated a little bit.
Dr. Lai
Indeed.
Husband, don't go there if Crystally's there.
And there was a very polite,
Crystal, you're out.
There was a couple of very polite Slack messages of it's cool, Crystal, it's cool, myself included.
I was like, I really don't want to get sick.
Yeah, that's fine. So Crystal's not here with us tonight.
Get well soon, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps we'll she submitted a quick story, but perhaps we'll try to save it for next week or something.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, sure.
Sound good? Let me pull this up. So, V, why don't you tell us what we are talking about tonight?
We're going to be talking about biohacking, grinders, and transhumanism.
I was looking at your notes before the show, and it was the weirdest set of emotions. It was excitement, and I was cringing. Was
I have
horrific.
never been so hesitant and so excited to research a topic for tonight's show. It was an experience. It was a roller coaster.
I'm for it. I am fine with it. You're doing well and everything?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I didn't cringe myself to death, so.
I can't wait to explore this topic.
Yeah.
You know? And Jake, how are you tonight?
I'm good.
You well as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm well as well.
Well as well. Should we go right in here and have you maybe we just move through this first part here with Crystal Lee gone? Would you like to start with your quick story first?
Sure.
Would that be all right there, Jake?
Yeah.
I'm still pulling my notes up. We might have started a little too soon. I apologize.
That's
so
all
I'm
right.
going to hand it over to. I'm going to literally hand the show over to you.
I have my
here for a
notes
second.
in notes pulled up, so I'm ready to rock.
Give me a few seconds, and you start now.
So I'm bringing an article in. I found it on PC World today. It's by Brad Chakos, and basically, Facebook is extending the list of things it does. What doesn't Facebook do anymore, basically, because there's an announcement that they are doing some updates to live videos, and they're now supporting streaming. Which was something that you originally could only do on pages. So let's say you were kind of a company or a celebrity, or
we experimented a month ago with a page stream with one of our episodes. I think it was the Switch episode, the Switch pitch. And you treat it like it's Twitch. You set up a API key. And we were using OBS that night, if I may. Mm-hmm. And instead of pushing it to Twitch, though, we were pushing it to Facebook Messenger, and you could only do it with pages. So we have some one-to-one experience with that.
Yep, exactly. So now the update will allow standard PC users to do live videos, and you don't have to be a Pages account. So now you could just be a standard member of Facebook, and you can funnel these in through using streaming software or external streaming hardware.
Up to this point, you could do Facebook Live posts from a personal page, but you had to kind of hold
you had to use the phone, which can get awkward. It kind of prevents, I think, some things from happening. They're hoping more kind of independent people that maybe don't have a Pages account or haven't branded themselves that way could go in and do a Q&A or do some kind of tutorial stuff. Or, I mean, let's be real here. What they really want is the gamers.
Yeah.
Right?
They think they want the gamers pushing out from their actual personal page instead of building a brand page or something.
I don't know. So the article kind of framed it in such a way look out, Twitch, Facebook is coming for you. I don't know how much of a reality that actually is. I think, they notice that this is a market. They probably hope that they can get in. I do think that it sets themselves apart from Periscope.
Mm-hmm.
Periscope, which is owned by Twitter.
Yep, exactly. Because now Facebook Live becomes an option to do on the You don't just have to be mobile, which does, I think, open up some other things you can get. I mean, even if you're just trying to do live as a personal person, as an individual, not as a page or branding or marketing or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want to be holding your phone all the time, and you get a lot higher quality video and things if you use some of the webcams.
Yeah.
If I could speak to that for a second, Jake, when I was thinking about having us, push some of these episodes out live just as an experiment, almost just really just as a technological experiment.
Yeah.
My first thought was a few weeks before the one that we did for the Switch pitch was, okay, I guess I'll take my phone and I'll put it in a tripod and I'll put it in the corner of the room.
Yeah. Right.
And then I'll control it with a Bluetooth keyboard, syncing to my iOS.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what it was up to that point.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. To my surprise at the time, they did allow, we ended up doing that one with a webcam. But it was pages only, of course. Yeah,
exactly. So obviously, right. You could do it before if you had a pages thing set up. Now it's open to anybody, and they're encouraging more kind of streaming and things like that. Like I said, the article that I was looking at, I think they bring up some valid points. Like, I don't think they're going to be impeding on the Twitch market right now. Like, that is just where people go if they want gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
Twitch is Amazon.
Right.
So it's Twitch is Amazon, Periscope is Twitter, and Facebook is Facebook.
And right, exactly. And they're also kind of competing. Like, YouTube is already kind of in on this live streaming market as well.
Is Google, as we know.
Yeah. Yep. So all the big companies are kind of getting in on this. We'll see if they go the route. I think one of the largest appeals right now for Twitch, as if you are a streamer, is the idea that they have subscription services that you can get paid to do this. Mm-hmm. I don't think Facebook has that. There are ways in Facebook that you can give people money, but it's not.
YouTube has a little bit of that, but it's a clear response to what Twitch does.
Yep, exactly. And Twitch was kind of the front runner on that. Yep. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I do think it's an interesting development, and it probably means that we'll just be seeing more and more and more video on our news feeds.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and optimistically, hopefully, more professional looking video.
Probably.
Just throwing that in there.
I mean, even if it's opening up your computer's web camera that's installed on it, like it's going to be stable.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So
and that opens the way for like higher production stuff as well on the back end.
I couldn't help but notice that you take a large inhale a few seconds ago, V, as if you were going to make a point.
Yeah, I'm also wondering like how Facebook's going to kind of like spin that brand to it, because YouTube already has kind of like a casual like viewer a feel to it where they're kind of appealing. There's already like thousands of Let's Plays going on YouTube. Right. It's kind of known as a gaming hub in its own way already in that sense. Before it even started doing
a year ago, we spoke on this show about YouTube kind of being in second place to Twitch.
Yeah.
And they're in a healthy second place, which is what I think you're speaking to right now.
Exactly, yeah. So I wonder what Facebook's going to do to kind of like change their reputation as like a hub to watch live video. It's going to be hard to see it as like a gaming spot.
Facebook's thing is always user base. They have maybe not. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we could guess that they have they have a very high user base. Mm-hmm. And Facebook's whole thing is we're going to take the thing that other companies are doing and we're going to make it bonkers simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes to an end that is not preferable, and that they will shove it at you inside an app or something like that. Yeah. But they're going to make sure that grandmas and grandpas and moms and dads and 12-year-old kids are able to do this.
Yeah, they
for
get
better
the
or for
numbers.
worse.
They have the numbers.
I'm sure that's their strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll stay tuned. But interesting updates, and like I said, it was.
I mean, if I was like a dude with a guitar wanting to throw a video out there, I think I'd prefer to maybe do it to a webcam with an actual mic input instead of my phone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rested on a dresser.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whether or not this is going to be a huge revenue generator for Facebook, we don't know. But it is interesting in the sense that it does open up a lot more possibilities for people going live.
I suppose at this point they're just trying to take that hypothetical dude with a guitar and a iPhone and say, okay, you don't have to go to YouTube or Twitch. Just you can stay right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's obviously the plan.
Yeah.
And get those likes.
Get those
so that
likes.
in a year and 2 years they can remind you that you had that and you can repost
you had that
it.
experience.
Remember 5 years ago with this?
I'd rather not.
Yeah. I finally said yes to one of those the other day. It was something with my nieces. It was like I say no every single day. I'm like, it's cool, Facebook. I'm cool with it. It's fine. Get out of here. There's a few other things. Let me ask you guys this. Since we have a few extra minutes because we're not going to be doing Crystally's quick story, let's speak to the Facebook Messenger app a little bit. Have you noticed how it's completely doing the Instagram? I mean, Instagram's owned by Facebook, but basically Instagram was doing a Snapchat impression, and now Facebook Messenger is doing an Instagram impression. How do you feel about this?
I have not touched it.
I kind of hate it.
I don't
even want to be curmudgeonly here, but I'm like, no, I'll go to Instagram for my daily stories.
Yes, exactly. Like, I don't know.
Have you done this?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So if you open up Facebook Messenger, the app now on your phone,
I don't have it.
It used to be essentially felt like a text messaging piece of software, and it was, in my opinion, pretty efficient. Now you can see 1 or 2 of your most recent chats, maybe 3, and there's daily posts up top.
Oh, hey,
and
Instagram.
Advertisements halfway down the screen.
Oh, hey, Instagram.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
Now, that is not to say that I haven't enjoyed some of my friends' post in said Messenger app. I don't want to make any of my friends who've posted things there feel bad about that. That has been fun. Mm-hmm. But it's more about Facebook. Facebook just takes everybody's everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That they're the last ticket to it, but they have the biggest audience, so they don't really have anything to lose at all.
Right. Yeah. It may not be bad. I'm not trying to spread hate on Facebook. It's obviously the strategy.
Yeah.
Sure. I feel like this applied. So anyway, so also Jake, okay, cool. Facebook opening up essentially Twitch-like functionality to every single page.
Yep.
Hopefully it's a good thing. I mean, if I could be on my Facebook app and all of a sudden see that my BFF is streaming Metroid, yeah, sure, I'll watch for a bit. That's cool, I think.
Your BFF?
Hypothetically. Hypothetically, I have BFFs.
Okay.
V, throwing me under the bus here.
Sorry. My bad.
So, hypothetically, I could go onto the Facebook Messenger app and see that V is playing Metroid and say, no way, Jose, I don't want to watch V's stream. She's not my BFF.
You're going to do something about that? And
you'd have to go to Twitch for the Nintendo Switch streaming, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I just assume that the only thing V does now is play Zelda.
Yep.
Well, here's another thing is that Switch Twitch streaming, obviously you have to play it. You have to do the HDMI screen record, don't you, V?
Yeah.
As we spoke to a little bit in our newscast special report.
Sadly, unfortunately, the Switch does not have a kind of press button to stream or record footage thing yet.
It is conceivable that a piece of software could, a single game could incorporate that in their own code, but it is not in the operating system.
Nope.
Anyways, all right, let me move over to my quick story, and then we'll go to break and come back with V talking all about people stitching iPhones into their arms.
Almost.
I know, I made it.
They're getting there.
I just want to talk about real quick a story that I found on Seeker.com, which caught my attention. Have you guys ever heard of a raccoon?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about
animal?
a sassy gun-wielding creature that flies through space and
a little bandit mask and little tiny human hands.
Yeah. No.
Not
I'm not talking about that at all. The raccoon is a slightly new. There's kind of a version 2.0 newness to this.
Yeah, it got an update.
Got an update, we could say. A technology to aid rockets in launching. I'm not sure how much of my notes you guys saw. I'm sensing Jake maybe took a peek. So anyway, let me just tell you real quick. A raccoon is a nickname or almost a slang, but it's what they're kind of calling it for the fun of it right now. Mm-hmm. A version of a rocket launch where a helium balloon, not too dissimilar from your newscast about Google's Loon project. Take a helium balloon, take a bunch of cables, you strap it to the tip of a rocket, we could say. You fill that balloon with helium, it floats the rocket up into the stratosphere, at which point then the rocket fires and flies off to wherever it needs to go.
It makes perfect sense.
That's a good idea.
Perfect sense.
That's a really good idea.
And this is why it makes perfect sense. Apparently, so the Seeker.com article here, which was written by Amy Cia Rfid, if I pronounce that correctly, she points out that actually this idea was around back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and there was actually some tests that were done back then. We didn't quite have the other technologies; they didn't line up yet, but the concept was around even that long ago.
Yeah.
The idea is if you have a rocket that needs to get launched to the International Space Station or another planet or otherwise, actually let me offer this as a parallel. SpaceX, obviously, they have their plan of doing the reusable rockets to send people to Mars. Mm-hmm. This big, huge rocket, and their solution there's a lot of
go up twice
damage that can happen to it's a rocky road for a rocket to go up out of our atmosphere, right?
Jokes.
Especially from sea level.
From sea level,
yeah.
Indeed. There's tons of friction and vibration, and half the time you have to take the very things you're trying to put up in our atmosphere or further, you have to encase them in literally armor, right? For them to survive going up through the atmosphere, to survive a rocket launch. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you didn't have to put them through that laborious process? What if they could just glide up there beautifully and smoothly, and then this rocket could just take off from there? The idea is that there is a company right now, Zero to Infinity, that is working on building these balloons that are going to pull rockets up into the stratosphere. And they've actually done a test where one of the balloons went up to, it was like 95 to 99% out of our atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And at that point, they did do a test rocket launch. It was like just a little cap, shot it off. But the idea here is that if you have satellites or humans or other things, that you bring them up. And Schrodinger's kind of creeping on us here in the studio.
Tell me more.
He's sitting on the stairs behind us, just staring at the back of David's head.
Nobody can see it on YouTube, and certainly you can't hear it right now, but we've got like a creeper gargoyle cat looking at us right now.
He's ridiculous.
Anyway,
continue. I'm going to take a photo of
this. You
this.
see green eyes glowing from the side of the studio right now. I don't know why he feels that that's where he needs to be right now.
Being such a creeper.
So anyway, it seems like this could be a really, really good idea. One of the things that's interesting about this is the company, Zero to Infinity, they're taking helium and they put it in the balloon, and they actually don't add more helium, but it naturally heats up from the sun because of the material that the balloon's made out of. Mm-hmm. The helium then expands, which becomes more or less buoyant, depending on your perspective, buoyant in the atmosphere, raises the rocket up, at which point, theoretically, these things could just kind of probably still launch at full speed, but they're already past the atmosphere. The whole thing with SpaceX as well, in addition, as a parallel, is like, okay, it's the stinking atmosphere, which is the hard part here. Mm-hmm. SpaceX's plan of having a reusable rocket go up, bring a payload up to our inner orbit or whatever, our inner atmosphere, our outer atmosphere.
You bring the fuel that gets you to Mars up first, then you bring exactly.
Yes, thank you. Right. Yep. We're not trying to do it from sea level.
Yep.
Bring it up out of the atmosphere and then do some things. Mm-hmm. This is maybe potentially a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I think it's sweet. There's a couple other, I think Virgin's space program, they basically strap the rocket onto a jet.
Yep.
Take it up into the as far up as they can go, and then they launch from there because and it's less fuel and really whatever, I can't remember the cost, but every
the
pound.
Virgin one.
No, just in general for space, every pound.
NASA's quick math, and we've said it before on the show. NASA's quick math is that it's like $10,000 a pound.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
And that there's a lot of poundage that goes up even on a single mission.
Yeah, and
obviously.
so much of it is rocket fuel. Mm-hmm. So because you need to go from all the way down, all the way up. So
that's an excellent point. We're not just talking about people and payload. We're talking about the rocket itself, the things, and literally also the counterbalance of the fuel that's in there in the first place.
Exactly. So you need less of it. You get out of the atmosphere. Escape velocity is way easier. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Boom.
So we'll see.
Good idea.
See. Looks like they've got some. They're going to keep testing this. They've done one test, like I said. It wasn't a real rocket launch, but it was essentially a simulated rocket launch. They shot off a payload from the balloon to see if it would work at that atmosphere level and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to go to break. Mm-hmm. We're about 5 minutes quick on this first part, but that's fine. Obviously, we skipped one quick story tonight. Mm-hmm. And Crystal is in our minds and hearts while she...
And Slack.
Heals.
And
she's on her Slack. She's literally on her Slack.
The guys, she actually is, I think, pretty bummed that she can't talk about this.
I sensed that as well.
I was really excited to hear what she had to say about this.
Maybe we'll talk her into saving it for next week in our audience.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up.
Won't lose anything.
Or she'll just blow up the hashtag on Twitter.
Yeah, I want to hear. See, I'm bad at the philosophy stuff, but I'm sure she has a ton to say about transhumanism.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. That reminds me that if you want to chat about balloons and Facebook and live streaming and all that, you can tweet us at Technophiles Pod and use the hashtag. Tonight it would be Technophiles 326 for tonight's episode. Mm-hmm. If you want to make sure or ensure that the three of us most likely see it, certainly the Technophiles Pod, which is frankly usually me, will see your tweet.
We'll see it too.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to go to break here. V, we're going to come back and hear what kind of mutiny is.
You're going to hear some things that might make you a bit squeamish.
I cringed a little.
Yeah.
I actually didn't bring assets to our screen tonight because some of them were a little too gross for my taste. I have to confess.
I will just paint a picture with words, and hopefully that's enough. I want to spare our YouTube viewers. But
it's totally fine. Totally fine. Mm-hmm. Remember, you can also find us on YouTube and Facebook by searching Technophiles. And if you are listening to our episode on iTunes right now, that's wonderful. We also post these episodes along with our newscast on YouTube. And you can find us there just by searching Technophiles. Literally the word Technophiles. You will find us.
Yep.
There's another channel out there that's Techno Space Files, which will show up next to us. That's wonderful. Best of luck to them. We are one word. All right, I'll see you guys in 10 seconds.
One word crew.
I'll see you in a bit, all right?
Yeah.
Great. From TPN at technophilespodcast.com, I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast. All right, we are back from the break. I am here with Jake Gill and V Loms, two of our regular cast members, and it is V's episode tonight with the topic of transhumanism, which I'm suspecting that what we're going to explore tonight is the beginning of the boulder that rolls down the mountain that is Data from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Or like cyborgs and stuff.
We're going to be talking about the people who are kind of spearheading that movement in a physical sense.
Yeah. I shouldn't say android, I should say cyborg.
Yeah. And we'll be talking about kind of the different ways that people are altering their bodies that's going to lead to becoming more than human in the future. And we'll talk about a little bit about the thoughts of transhumanism and the philosophy of it.
We've had some conversations on this show that have certainly implied the intellectual versions of like how much are our phones changing our brains and how much are we in a hive mind structure. And I think that's all been very fascinating. That is kind of, I would say, a light theme that travels through many of our episodes.
Yeah.
But tonight you're going to be speaking specifically about the physical aspects of some of this stuff. I
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask, as I ask so often, like what inclined you to speak about this tonight?
It was actually just a series of tweets that popped up on my feed one day.
You're just scrolling through and all of a sudden...
Legitimately, yeah. I follow a woman by the name of Zoe Quinn who designs games, and she is someone who has some biohack grinder implants in her body.
And grinder is the name for this. I learned from your notes.
Yes, grinders are the people who put their own implants in their body without a doctor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grinder with an ER, not grinder without an E.
Yeah, not like the app.
Yep. Cool.
Or the dating website. Yeah, that one.
Or they got repurposed into implants now without doctors. You guys didn't know?
I'm not sure the etymology of it. I'm not sure where it comes from, but unrelated.
It's kind of it's a bit of a hardcore kind of.
It's like a bio crust punk type feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, so you saw some tweets and you got curious, or what happened?
I was curious. I ended up reading a nice article by her on Vice talking about her experience of getting her implants and just everyday life with magnets in your finger and an NFC chip in your hand.
All right. Oops, pardon me.
So I guess to start out with, we'll talk about just biohacking in general, which is the activity of exploiting genetic material experimentally without regard to accepted ethical standards.
Could we say real base value here is like a version of this? If disagree with me if you want, I would assume like a really, really bare bones version is putting a chip in your dog or your cat in the back of their neck or something, so that you can zap them and scan them when they're lost.
There's actually a really good story that has to do with that.
Well, I know that there has been talk, and we talked about it on this show before, about like companies that might start having things go in people's hands, implants that go in hands so they can get through elevators and doors and whatnot. I don't know if I haven't looked at your notes enough to know if that's what we're talking about tonight.
No,
but
not yet.
I think this is the direction we're starting. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So there's like a few different forms of biohacking. There's just kind of general, like I'm going to kind of trick my body to do things by changing the way I diet or like the way I do physical exercise or something like that.
Yeah.
Using medical, nutritional, physical, or electronic techniques to modify or improve functions. I guess one thing that could be considered biohacking is a lot how like athletes will do recoveries where they have like the nodes on their bodies that will like flex their muscles for them. That's kind of a form of biohacking. Yeah. It's something that just kind of like releases pressure and gets muscles working again faster if they've like deteriorated.
It's external biohacking, I suppose.
Yeah.
Why is it? I'm going to ask a hard question right off the top here. I'm so sorry. Why is a heart transplant not biohacking? Or is it?
I guess it kind of is, not in the rebellious sense though.
That's
the I guess kind of the basis
not a
of
heart transplant. I'm sorry, like a pump, like even the soft robotics we talked about the other week. You know,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said heart transplant, but when you
like
get
an alteration, like
you get a piece of machinery put in your body.
Yeah, no, because those are like accepted ethically. Like those are approved by the FDA. Those are approved by like doctors.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
It feels like all this stuff is kind of pushing the envelope of like, you know, I don't know, maybe we'll get there eventually, but right now they're like, yeah, we're not going to wait.
Yeah.
We're just doing it.
Some individuals out there are doing it without, hence the hacking tone.
Yeah.
So I give it back to you, V. I apologize.
Some of these are noble, like they've got good causes behind them, and some of them are just kind of like aesthetically, what weird stuff can I do with my body?
Yeah, some feel like it's almost an artistic expression.
It is, and we'll get into that. I guess as kind of like a good example of how this started and how kind of the thought process of biohacking via inserts starts. I can tell the story of Amal oh my gosh, I keep messing up on this. Amal Grafstra.
I think so. There's 2 A's. There's 3 A's in his name, and it's Graafstra. Amal Grafstra will allow it.
Yeah. He actually did a TEDx talk in 2013 about his story of biohacking, but I can kind of give you the skinny here. In 2005, he worked for a company, and he was kind of high up the ladder. He was doing a good job, and he had this office where every time he went in and out, it would lock behind him. He could not simply unlock it. It would just lock every time he left the room, whether it be like...
Unbeknownst to him?
No, he knew.
He planned it that way.
So he had to bring this big ring of keys with him all the time, and it bugged the heck out of him. And he describes himself as like a naturally really forgetful person, and like hates carrying things and hates wearing things on his wrist or whatever.
Right.
So he was thinking like,
I really like this person already.
Right.
That sounds interesting.
So he got to thinking like, there's got to be an easier way to unlock my door. There's got to be something out there. So he was like looking into like eye scanners or fingerprint things. And he was like, he wasn't into it. Like they were expensive and like kind of faulty, and he didn't quite like it. It wasn't as smooth or quick as he wanted it to be. And he thought about it for a while, and then he noticed he had been hearing about the RFID tags for pets. Well,
there we go. Sorry. Yeah. Cool.
Which are just small, like smaller than a pill, very thin, like they're like 12 millimeters.
They almost look like
long.
a little transistor that goes on a circuit board.
Yeah. There's no like battery or anything in it. It's just a little chip that gets activated by a reader that puts out a magnetic field.
The idea is that with these chips, you're absolutely right, get activated even from a power point of view and a communication point of view. They are dormant until they are stimulated by another thing.
Exactly.
It's not that they need yeah, you're right. Okay, cool. It's a little bit like the
Sounds
iPad.
like the perfect thing to put under your skin.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So he saw this and he called up the company that sells them, and they were like, we're not selling you that, and we don't recommend that people put them under their skin.
Oh, because he got in touch with them saying,
so he's like, my dog really wants one.
No, because I think they only sell to vets. I think that was the issue.
Dang it.
So, but
he's an inside source.
Yeah, so
he
had like thought of like RFID badges, but he's like, I hate badges. I don't want to carry a badge with me. I'm going to forget that. I'm forgetful. I hate it.
Yeah, no, he absolutely doesn't need any stinking
He knew
badges.
ahead of time he was going to lose it, so he just wanted to skip that whole process. So like for a while, it kind of like sat in the back of his mind, and then he stumbled across like for sale, like one of those same RFID chips from someone that wasn't the pet company. And so he bought one. He got a hold of it. It's like the same thing. And he called the pet company, or he called the company that he bought it from. And he's like, is this like the same glass that they use in those pet chips? And they're like, yeah, but we don't recommend you like put it under any kind of like biological material. Like, oh, okay, fine. Click. And he hangs up. And so he went to his doctor, and using a large-ish syringe, he got it injected into his right hand, like right between the thumb and forefinger.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a little creepy to think of. He said it hurt a little bit, but it wasn't too bad, and it healed over, and there was no scar. And he was able to program it and set up his door to his office with a new detector to detect RFID tags, and just like that,
I assume he puts his hand close enough to the door.
Yep, he just taps it.
Suddenly, he has the force.
Yeah,
the force.
It's real. It was real
very
awesome.
close range.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then one day he brings his buddy to work, and he does this, and his buddy's like, "What was that?
How did you do that?
How did you do that?" And so he takes a few pictures and he posts it on the internet. And then it just kind of blew up from there everywhere.
I definitely remember this.
Yeah.
happening.
He was on like the Today Show and like so many websites, Boing Boing and whatever else would interview him that was tech related. And he wrote a couple books about RFID tags and weird things you can do with them, and like tutorials on how to like put a scanner in your keyboard so you can log in via your hand on your keyboard to your computer.
It's so cool.
Yes, it's so rad. And one day he gets an email from a young girl who wanted to do this on her own, and in the TEDx talk, he shows a pretty gruesome picture of a bloodied hand where she had done this procedure herself and kind of messed around, and then went to the hospital for 2 weeks with sepsis.
Something got infected.
Yeah, it got infected. And that really, really startled him. So he began a website called Dangerous Things. He wanted to share the information on how to do this safely and like the possibilities of what to do with it, and also to provide safe and clean materials to do that with. And that kind of opened the door to biohacking for a lot of people because it was easily accessible, and right at the start of the maker revolution as well, where people were getting together and doing all this high-tech DIY stuff, learning programming and electric engineering and stuff all on their own as like a hobby. It just blew up, and so suddenly this whole like body modification community just sprung up. And the rest after that is kind of history. It's kind of escalated from there in a few ways.
I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
It's hard. I support the trajectory of what this means. You know, like I think this is the beginning steps of nanobots in our blood and robot hands and whatever.
Yeah.
This is like the rough edges, the beginning of that. I support the trajectory totally.
Yeah.
I am forced to think to myself, man, just use NFC on a Samsung smartwatch or an Apple Watch. Like, what the frick is the problem?
I don't know.
Why put it in your body and risk infection when you can just wear something on your wrist? But I think the point is it's almost the artistic expression of like what happens when you do put something in your body. What does it mean? And
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pushing what it means to be a person and like self-expression and ownership of your own body.
Right.
So this kind of grinder culture of biohackers has popped up where people are kind of pushing the limits of what they will do.
Wait, I'm going to be a hater for a second. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
If he would have waited just a few more years, we could have just had fingerprints on everything. You know what I mean? Like you're signing in on your iMacs now using your fingerprint on the upper part of your keyboard and all that.
Yeah.
You don't really need a chip inside your thumb.
Yeah, but where's the fun in that?
But I know that's a slightly hateful statement here, and I don't mean to change our momentum, but it is a counterpoint a little bit.
It definitely feels way more cool to just put your hand on a thing and have it go instead of like scan your finger. Kind of weird. So I can. And
I'm actually kind of pro nanobots in my body in 20 years. I mean, I don't disagree with biohacking.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out. I just want to bring it up.
Mm-hmm. So that opened up the door to like more. Transhumanism kind of like really dug that idea because transhumanism is all about like we're going to ascend being human at some point. Yeah. And they look at grinders and they're like those are guys. That's what we're gonna be doing like hardcore in the future. This is only the beginning of what people are going to become. So this whole culture kind of popped up, and funnily enough, it's kind of based around a lot of people who get into biohacking and grinding or being grinders is linked to the body mod community.
Sure.
Yeah. So like tattoos, piercings, it's not uncommon to see that on folks who also have NFC chips implanted in themselves. Mm-hmm. And they're actually part of the system of getting these devices installed, where doctors are really hesitant to participate in these practices and like put chips inside of people that aren't approved by the FDA on humans and stuff.
Yeah. There's kind of a reason why some of that stuff is in place, though, some of those rules.
Yeah.
I'm being a curmudgeon right now.
But I folks who like piercers, professional piercers, are usually a little bit more open to that idea of like, let's put something in your body. That's a little weird, but I'm a professional. I know how to do it safely and cleanly, and I want to make sure you're okay.
Right.
And
sterile environment, bare minimum.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's more useless stuff that they've probably put under somebody's dermis. So
fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
You can get like those little weird silicone lumps if you want fake horns on your forehead.
We've all
or something.
seen that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and people have the right to do that.
Yeah,
totally cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they paid the money. They signed the waiver. So one really great thing about the Grindr community is that they're actually like very heavily focused on being open source. Because they are on that cutting edge, no pun intended, of a new
Killing
science. They want to make sure that everybody's doing it as safely and correctly as possible, so they can get all the results in and like make sure that like nothing has been tampered with incorrectly, that like it doesn't throw off results of like a new piece of technology that somebody's implanted and distributed to somebody else in the community.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
It's kind of like it's like a mini scientific community where somebody's like, I have this idea for a thing. I'm going to make a few of them. Who wants to like install them in themselves? Yep. And then a few people sign up for that, and then they document it and report back on how it's doing. And that's kind of how the NFC chip thing worked, along with the RFID scanner. There's actually in kind of the like noble realm of open source grinders, there is the open APS, the artificial pancreas system.
Okay.
This is like grinders and biohackers working together to help treat type 1 diabetes. So those who have type 1 diabetes can wear a insulin pump on their waist that like they are connected. Right. It's injected into their body throughout the day. It detects like what their blood sugar is, and then will respond back to it. Some medical companies don't share all the information they gather or how the pump works with their patients. So this group of biohackers is working to make all that information open source and available to patients with type 1 diabetes and allow them to monitor how it's working, also program it themselves to make it work better for them, like have all this technology and the programming available to them to like make type 1 diabetes like very livable and like hopefully someday coming up with a cure for it. It's a whole big group of folks working together to do that. They actually run under the hashtag We Won't Wait, which is very much like that grinder attitude of like, we're not going to wait for the FDA to like tell us it's okay to put this stuff in us.
Do you, when you were doing research on this, do you have a sense of like how big this grinder community is? Maybe not even like some of this open source stuff, but just in general, does it seem like?
I'd say it's like a subset of like the body mod community, but like with like a, I don't know. I couldn't give you a number.
Sure.
But it seems like there's enough.
Do you know anyone with
a
tech mods?
Transhuman? Yeah. No, I don't actually.
Okay. Does transhumanism, I always thought it wasn't, there was like two ways to express this. There's the physical way, which is what we're talking about tonight, and I think we will continue to talk about. And then there is this kind of how our brain, this kind of more abstract, our brains are developing differently because of software and technology and artificial intelligence and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Isn't that also transhumanism? Is that all kind of part of the...
Yeah, it does. Some schools of transhumanism do lead to like a singularity. Right. Like that's the end of the ride.
To put it bluntly, like what makes you a cyborg? Is it that you have a robot arm, or is it that half of your brain doesn't think for itself anymore and a cell phone does?
Or would it be like,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's they kind of play with that idea a lot, where a lot of folks who have those mods, those tech mods in their body will say they're cyborgs, like very proudly. And it's fun to say that, and like, hey, I have like magnets and an NFC chip in my hand. Mm-hmm. I'm a cyborg technically. Yeah, it's in you.
If you have a mechanical, right.
When I was in college, one of my professors was kind of throwing out this idea of like post-humanism and just already making the argument that for actually quite a long time now, even the idea of like weaving blankets for ourselves, creating
clothing,
glasses, all these different things. Like we are already beyond what a normal human is capable of.
All three of us are wearing glasses right now. We would have evolved out if we wouldn't be wearing glasses.
So to me, this is just we're kind of just continuing down this path, and some people are willing to take more risks. And I don't know. As a new parent, I'm really afraid of the 15 year from now, like what's cool. Because I think it's going to be stuff like this, and it's not, it's not going to be the threat of I want my tongue pierced, or not even as necessarily bad, or like tattoos early, but it's going to be like, Dad, I really want this chip.
Yeah, so and V, I'm giving you a hard time tonight. I'm only doing it for the sake of the conversation because I do think this is an integral step in this process.
Yeah, I do too. No.
In the history books, this is an integral part of it. So I wanted to get you back on track. I apologize.
No.
Well, I kind of took us off when I was trying to pontificate about what transhumanism actually is, but why don't we get back on here? It looks like you have some non-implant mods in your notes here as well. Would you be comfortable talking about that right now?
Yeah,
or should we go to break and come back? We're about 20 minutes in.
We can go to break. Yeah.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, sure. We can get into the kind of the soft stuff, and then we'll go get a little bit gory after that.
Dang.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, I'll see you in a little bit. From TPN at technophilespodcast.com, I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast. All right, we are back from our break. I am here with Jake Gill and V Lobs, two of our regular cast members. And V, tonight, as most of our listeners know already because they are 45 minutes
they've
into
been
this
listening
MP3 file that they've downloaded on their podcast thing. If you're just tuning in now, which is impossible, we are talking about
when I put up a YouTube video, I skip right to the middle.
I usually just kind of randomly click somewhere. Yeah.
Find the good bits. This is a good one.
Yeah, man, that is a relic of radio with hosting a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Anyways,
it's like a habit. If you listen to it,
it's a good habit to stay in though, because if we're Facebook living someday, then there will be people.
Jake, isn't that weird how it all is going full circle a little bit?
It does.
Yeah.
A lot of this is going to start going back to that. But anyway, V, so we're talking about. I'm so sorry. I almost slipped and just said, okay, V, so we're talking about body horror.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're going to start out kind of nicely. We're going to be...
We just finished kind of exploring all the implications of what might be going on here. I think, and if I may set the tone as we go into the next thing, I think overall, this is a direction that is an interesting and hopefully optimistic direction. I think it could be kind of cool. And so let's explore it.
Yeah. I guess talking about non-implant mods, one of them that you may have heard of if you dig science podcasts or, I don't know, tech podcasts, Radio Lab kind of is in that realm.
I'm not big on technology podcasts, but...
No.
Sorry.
Radio Lab covered this. It's 9-volt battery brain stimulation.
Yes. I remember that episode.
Yeah, it's a good one. 9-volt Nirvana, if you want to Google it or whatever. What it is, it's just a small circuit with a couple of nodes. And this is all stuff you can get at Radio Shack. You hook it up to a 9-volt battery, and you find a spot on your head that is like a cluster of neurons that assists in learning, and you zap it with a 9-volt. So in this episode, like for example, are you raising your hand? No.
There was a little knock.
Oh, okay.
Making sure it wasn't.
I thought you had a question.
How's the mic? Is it touching the table there?
Excuse me, V.
Oh, man.
A little behind the curtain here. Is the mic touching the table or is it okay?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think V might have accidentally bumped it.
I just poked it.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I'm so unprofessional.
So speaking to this 9-volt thing, though.
Yeah.
Innocently on this show, not knowing about that 9-volt thing, we actually talked about a product before either of you were on the show about this company that essentially made a product out of that same technology.
Oh, no kidding.
You put this little helmet on, and by helmet, it was like, it almost looked like it wasn't even a full helmet.
Right? Yeah.
It looked like the thing you wear when you're playing with the Force toy.
Oh, yeah?
You've all seen that like headband that the kids put on?
Yeah.
And it was to help you focus. And what it did is it sent little electric
Currents.
zaps through your brain and currents through your brain. So it's actually even become a product now. But even from a hacker point of view and from a DIY point of view, obviously I'm inviting you to speak about it a little further.
Yeah, it basically creates a kind of focus high. So the way they explain it is that when you're learning something, there's like a group of neurons that kind of create a pathway. I think of it kind of as like you're driving down a road that hasn't been driven down before, and it kind of like wears away. Like when you learn a new skill, if you're learning a new language, those neurons kind of like are a little jumbled up. They're kind of, it takes a little bit to get through to the function of it. Okay. But over time, it becomes easier and easier, and it goes up and down the road faster and faster.
The path becomes clearer.
So what the 9-volt battery does is it zaps that cluster of neurons, and it either adds electricity or takes like the existing energy of the brain and just kind of focuses it to that group of neurons, and it automatically paves that road.
So it's like some high beams while you're driving on that road that you've never been on.
Exactly.
I think in our episode where we spoke about the product version of this, we had a lengthy discussion about, is it an addiction or not? Is it chemically an addiction or not? It was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah. It's the woman on Radiolab said that she has like anxiety, and she felt it like go away shortly after the experience.
Yeah.
And she kind of had a craving afterwards of that kind of like piece from the gremlins that like give her self-doubt throughout the day. And there's like a small community around that. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit like janky in the way that it's not quite accurate. Where
is it people just putting plugs on their heads and then saying I like it this way?
Everybody.
That's the thing. It is different on everybody.
So you need to be very careful.
Yeah.
You move it around and you say, okay, I like it this way the most, and then who knows what it's really doing.
Some folks will like experience that focus high, and some folks might black out for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's a little scary. And that's, I don't know if that's what unregulated like experimental body modification is, or brain modification. There's a group of folks out there that are attempting to do a kind of vitamin A2 night vision test. They're bringing this back. This is something, a test that began in World War II. They tested on a few soldiers to kind of limit their diet so that they only had vitamin A2. And it said that when you have only that vitamin, it creates a kind of protein in your eyes that allows you to see in infrared rays more easily.
Okay.
That got ditched once night vision goggles were invented.
Sure.
I feel like this is way easier.
The infrared wavelength is pretty close to the visual spectrum.
Yes, exactly. So there's like a few biomod folks who are kind of giving this a shot, though doctors don't recommend it because you do need vitamin A. Like this is eliminating vitamin A and doing vitamin A2 only, but you need vitamin A for like enzymes in your liver and your stomach and stuff like that. Really, really essential things. There's like some issues that pop up, but you know, that's manipulating your body to achieve a higher goal, something beyond the normal human scope, I suppose.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's also a small like area of temporary tattoos. We might have talked about this. It feels familiar, but there's some temporary tattoos that have these like flexible chips in them that can detect a body's metabolic health.
Yeah, that we had a full newscast on that even.
Yeah.
Maybe Nate did it, but I can't remember. But anyway.
It felt familiar while I was reading it. But yeah, it's just a temporary tattoo and it detects it. And you can scan it kind of in the NFC chip kind of way. And then there's also, you've probably seen pictures of these circuit tattoos out there that have like a small battery and lights in them.
I have not.
Yeah, it's just like a temporary tattoo that goes on and it has really small like LED lights or something in there.
I've seen some of that.
There's an idea that these might be able someday to like replace heart monitors and stuff.
Okay, there we go. I was going to say, what's the point? And I meant it in a good way.
Where it won't leave any like scarification or marks for displaying whatever's going on in your body.
If I remember correctly, when Nate spoke about some of these temporary tattoos, one of the exciting things that we spoke about in the newscast was that obviously it's non-invasive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know,
it makes the experience a lot more comfortable. I could see that really going over well with kids. Kids love temporary tattoos.
So how does that work medically? Okay, you got the LEDs. You go once a month and get your new temporary tattoo put on. And it tells you if you have good blood sugar or not, or it's like where. I'm just building this as I go here, but like, is that the idea?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Could be even longer than that, actually.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, they're temporary tattoos. I mean, I guess it depends on what you make them out of or whatever. Yeah. But you could always have you give like moms and dads a pack of them, and every so often they put a new one on.
It's possible.
Yeah, it'd be real cool.
My temporary tattoos always look like crap, though. So.
Oh yeah, I'm really bad at putting those on.
Well, if I may, also when we spoke about these other temporary tattoos on Nate's episode, I remember some of the visuals. It really, it's fine, but it looked like stuff with Scotch tape. It looked like packaging tape on a person's arm. It had that kind of aesthetic.
It
wasn't super cool, like
all the kids are like,
you know what I mean?
At him, you know?
Yeah. It looked like you had something taped to your body, but it's okay.
Yeah. And I guess that's what I'll kind of end it at in terms of
the not gross stuff.
The not gross stuff.
Joking.
we're gonna get into kind of some gross stuff. If the idea of stuff being injected into your body, like physical stuff, kind of makes you squirmy, maybe skip this part. I don't know. But it's not.
It makes
like
me squirmy. I got to sit through this.
I know.
I'm joking. V. I love it from a conversation point of view. I love it. So let's do it.
So I guess to kind of review, there's the RFID chips, classic in those like BioSafe glass tubes. They're unpowered. They're powered by the readers that are near them in order to read the data. Dangerous Things, the site from Amal, he founded that site, provides these actually. They're like 2 by 12 millimeter cylinders. They have they have how many? 112 bytes of rewritable data with a 10-year retention. And they have kinds that are like not NFC compliant, and then they have NFC compliant RFID chips.
10-year retention. That just doesn't seem long enough.
It doesn't seem long enough. And also, why do they only last 10 years? What's going on in there where that data is degrading?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is it magnetically stored? Wait, it's not like the poles.
It's not like it just change. Like naturally like fades or whatever.
What erodes? I wonder what does that.
I don't know what the deal is. I'd probably look into that.
Also, the glass thing is interesting. Do you think that the body's less likely to attack glass? Right?
Yeah. A lot of these implants are coated in like a biosafe material where it won't infect or like it'll prevent infections from whatever it's been coated on, and it kind of just like is. I can't think of the word for it, but like the body doesn't want to pick a fight with it.
Well, I know like when like people get metal in their body sometimes through an accident or otherwise the body does attack it and you get scar tissue around fragments of metal or different things. If there's like accidents with explosions and whatnot and all that kind of stuff, that can get dangerous.
Yeah.
Right.
Pardon me.
So there's like BioSafe glass and then there's BioSafe coating that goes on other implants. There's NFC chips. And these have like a higher standard and a higher storage for memory in it, like 888 bytes of memory. There's like 2 series. There's like the cylinders, and then there's these flex transponders, which are 10 by 22 millimeters and like 0.5 millimeter thick.
It's getting a little bigger.
It's like it's a little tad, but
you could feel that. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you felt that on a person's hand, so to speak, you could feel it. I think.
But I feel like you would kind of forget it's there after a while, considering how thin it is. Yeah. And so it's like just like a little like flexible like tab with a little bit of circuitry on it. And they can actually be programmed through Android apps, since most Android phones have like an NFC chip reader.
Yep.
You can program it with whatever you please. It can carry your personal information. You can have your business card on there. So like you're at a business meeting and you don't have any physical cards on you. You just go, hey, hand me your phone. You tap their phone on your hand and boom, they have your contact info.
You could also just store that in your contact list and transfer it NFC from your phone, but anyway.
This is way cooler. This is a way to make an impression, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
You certainly would do that.
You can transmit art.
At least right now, right? And like, who knows, in a couple...
Maybe that'll be commonplace.
Yeah, that'll be normal.
I think the bump technology is going to come. You can see people like chest bumping each other or fist bumping. And Samsung's like, what have we done?
Oh, my goodness.
Exactly.
My phone. Cut it out. I thought I turned my sound down. I'm so sorry.
You can also program like app functions to happen. So maybe you got to silence your phone and you tap it on your NFC.
Well, now
chip.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So hook it up to what is it? IFFT.
Finally, something practical.
Yeah. Zoe Quinn, who inspired this week's story, has a great video where she tells a dad joke and then she taps her phone on her hand and like a womp womp trombone plays, and then another one where she taps it and her flashlight turns on.
Okay.
Just real quick stuff. And it's really neat. Like the possibilities are endless for the.
See, I want flashlight in my hands, though. Not.
We're getting
well,
there.
isn't that
We're getting
eventually?
there.
You're right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We are
get rid of the phone.
Yeah.
We're still in the basics here. You're just triggering things.
It's gonna get more complex.
Right now, it's just a chip talks to another chip, and I guess there's some skin in between. Is where we're at right now.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Most of the implants there are with like syringes of varying sizes. Dangerous Things actually sells an entire kit for you to do that yourself. A lot of people actually install it themselves without anesthetic. That's another big thing with the grinder community. No anesthetic. Everybody's doing this stuff.
Feel it.
All pain. It's all pain. They don't get to miss any of it. Like they have to be awake for all of it and communicating either with like the person who's doing it to them or just awake themselves.
Sure.
Yeah, it's wild. So then there's also biomagnets, which gets into kind of the extrasensory area of biohacking. So some folks have inserted small magnets coated with like this biosafe material on their fingertips.
Yeah.
Of varying sizes and strength. There's a lot of options out there actually. And after a few days, after it's healed over and you kind of like start having it be a normal part of your hand, you start to ignore it. You start to feel the magnetic fields of everything around you. I
was looking at your link to your source on this part, and I honestly was fascinated by it. People speaking about how they can accidentally feel magnetism in the air when certain like they were talking about. One of the sources was talking about they could feel when a subway door was going to open because certain electromagnetic things were being triggered. And they could. Very sensitive, your fingers are like the most sensitive part of your body as far as the nerve endings go, right? Is this what you're speaking to, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's interesting for sure.
Like you can feel like if your power supply to your computer is plugged in and working, you can detect live wires from dead wires. Like if you're in your basement with your switch panel for all the fuses, you can feel which ones are on and which ones are off just by putting your finger over it. It's wild, but it's like. That's a whole new sense for human beings is detecting electromagnetism.
MRIs are off the table, but
actually no.
Oh, tell me about that then.
No, yeah. So like that's the same with NFC chips. Is that like they
don't get ripped out of your body like they do in NBC television episodes?
They're just really small. They're just
Fair
small
enough.
so that it's not a huge
Love
threat.
it.
Mythbusters actually busted that as well with the RFID chips. Like they put it in a pig and put it in an MRI machine. Yeah, it's fine.
And here I thought I've seen every single Mythbusters episode ever.
No,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's actually really neat.
Yeah.
I guess like your braces don't get ripped out of your mouth if you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
You like cover it.
I have to admit.
So yeah, I find the magnets thing the coolest. Like I could, if I weren't so squeamish, I would probably do that. It sounds really, really fun. Like to be able to like.
Oh, you're saying you're the most interested in that experience?
Yeah, to kind of feel things that you can't see.
Could be cool.
Yeah. Like Zoe Quinn said she could feel like when she was walking over a subway or when like a train went by, like just like on the surface level, like in New York, she could like feel it like coming before she even heard it. Yeah. You can pick up small metal objects with it. A lot of folks who do this are like, oh, I was repairing my computer and I could get the screws out of the spots that are really hard.
You could really freak people out by like sitting there and like just
picking up
paper clips, spinning, you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, see that sounds really fun too. Just rigging people out.
You could pretend like you're magical.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right.
I'm with that.
That's interesting.
I'm with that. Yeah. Zoe said she can accidentally erase hotel key cards if she's not careful.
Oh, sure.
Like she just rubs her finger on the strip on it.
Yep, that
and
makes
it goes
sense.
away. Yeah.
She has to be careful with credit cards and stuff too, I'm sure. Then maybe.
Yeah. Oh no. Actually,
is it different?
She uses Apple Pay.
It's NFC. No, she doesn't. She doesn't have an NFC. That might be the future though, where you have your credit card on an NFC chip in your hand.
Sure.
That'd be wild. Yeah. I mean,
if we can get these. I mean, last week didn't we talk about how small data is getting? Like we could be. This stuff might be leading the way, but as things get even smaller, it could just be like it's in there and you don't even feel it.
Yeah.
Really crazy.
No, and I mean this with
I've
some of this makes me cringe our topic tonight, and I apologize, but I am celebrating it with you here, V, because I do feel that, and I mean this with respect, this is the Stone Age of this experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've gone from external modification to internal modification, and it gets a little weird, but like
and it's not going to be normal.
No.
Or safe for entire populations until people push the envelope, right?
Exactly. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so magnets in the fingers, super cool.
There's the North Star, which, speaking of flashlights in your hand,
there we go.
This is a version 1 concept for a technology that is going to. They want to be able to have it be a controller for Bluetooth devices, so you control things just by waving your hand about. It's installed in the back of your hand. It's like 4 LED lights and like a panel for electronics. So it's like a reverse Iron Man blaster, pretty much. Yeah, and so the lights activate by magnet. Their idea for that is the Bluetooth thing, but they also want it to have like a small but constant tug to magnetic north.
Okay.
So you will be able to detect where north is at all times. There's actually like a small external device that does the same thing. I think it's called Southpaw. But they kind of took that idea and went, what if we just internalized it? Like, what if we just make it that? And so that's in its version 1 phase right now. It's doing okay. They're probably going to be working on like engineering the higher forms of technology into it soon. And the creepiest by far, also related to the North Star, which is done by Grindhouse Wetware. And the first guy to do this, Tim Cannon, this is called Circadia. And it's a battery-powered device that records and transmits body temperature at certain time intervals. It's like it can, every minute or so, it'll like give you a reading of like what your body temperature is. This thing is battery-powered, which is scary.
So you have batteries inside your body.
Because you have batteries in your body, and you do not want a battery failure
inside your body
to go bad in your body. So there's actually like a short video. If you look this up, just Circadia, Biohacking, Tim Cannon. There's a video where he talks about the process of getting this. And this thing is like the size of a Game Boy cartridge, if not a little bit bigger. And he gets this installed in his forearm, like on the soft side of it.
It looks photoshopped when you look at a picture. I don't know if you saw it in one of the sources, Jake, there, but I happened to see it. It looks like when people Photoshop things onto.
It's so bogus and like creepy body horror because okay, so here, creepy description of how it works. Like he goes to this hotel with a guy who knows how to do like quick surgery stuff, who apparently is this guy.
You telling a true story right now?
This is a true story.
Okay.
And so the process is they make an incision on his skin and they separate the dermis from the fatty tissue beneath it, and it's a pocket, and then they put it in and then they stitch it up.
And there it is.
And there it is. And it's so creepy. And it's sitting up like a half a centimeter above his body, like this huge, like brick of something in his arm. And it looks so unnatural. And there's like sutures and it's so gross.
And so what is his expression? What is his point of doing this? Is it
he's just
to check his temperature?
To check his temperature and just push the boundaries. He's like, I want to see how this works if I can put a battery powered thing in here. The idea was that it would like turn off and turn on to conserve battery over time. But he noticed a battery failure and he got freaked out about the idea of having battery acid in his body, which who wouldn't?
I mean, there is a little bit of like when the Yeti breaks, how do you fix the Yeti thing here going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he got it uninstalled, and I'm glad.
Oh, he got it uninstalled.
Yeah. It's still in testing, as just like the North Star is. North Star seems to be doing a lot better though. Installing stuff in hand is just kind of a little bit easier from what I understand.
Sure.
And just not having a battery in there either also does that.
Well, and that most of the things they're installing are significantly smaller than this. Right?
Exactly. So. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at in terms of
I'm trying to pull it up here.
It's real creepy. It looks almost.
It's worth bringing up, but I just airplayed to the TV.
Tonight.
What's that?
I said I don't really know if I want to dream about this tonight.
It looks kind of Frankenstein-y, if I'm being real. It looks like.
I'll try one more time here to bring it up. If not, we'll keep moving.
It looks very like horror movie stuff where it's like, I implanted this thing in you and you have like 50 minutes to get out of this puzzle room.
Yeah.
Or else it explodes. It looks like something out of like Saw or whatever.
Yep.
Except he did it on his
Only
own.
movie I've ever walked out of in my life.
Saw one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, gore porn, not for me.
I'm
done.
Nah. Once a pile of syringes got involved, I was like, I don't think I want this series anymore.
Anyways, sorry.
I've never seen a Saw
tangent,
movie.
but
Yeah. So that's
so if you don't load this, David, I will be a-okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying one last time, but we'll keep moving here. If I pull it up in a minute,
it's not gory. It's just like uncomfortable. It looks.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was riding my bike, I'd feel it shaking on my arm. Like I feel like the stress
like
of the nerves.
it's too extra. Like that seems like kind of a floppy area to have like a cart or anything. Ugh.
But the point is,
they're doing all
not
this
without cause. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. They're furthering not only the science but kind of the ideology of transhumanism. They're pushing the limitations of what it means to be human via science and technology. And they kind of have like a different mindset from other folks regarding this. Amal Grafstra has a good quote where some people see their bodies as like just like their body and their brain as like one package. Like, this is me. I'm all of this. Folks who do biohacking, we see the body as a sport utility vehicle for the brain. The brain is ourselves, and our body is a pretty cool, adaptable, flexible, and now upgradable sport utility vehicle.
I can see that point of view.
Yeah. Then there's like philosophies that are actually tied to that, where it's like the mind is made of mind stuff, and the body is made of stuff. And there's like a separation between those two.
Okay.
It's kind of like a philosophy thing. I'm bad at philosophy and explaining things in philosophical terms. I actually just watched like a Hank Green video that kind of explains the mind-body problem recently. And it does really tie into kind of the idea of biohacking and why some people are okay with that, because they understand kind of that separation of like, I am me, but I'm like riding this vehicle that's shaped like V. I just like I live in my brain, but like this is how I get around. And some folks can't make that distinction, don't have like subscribe to that thought pattern or that way of thinking. And there's actually like a lot of really huge like backlash against folks who do body mods, even stuff as simple as RFID chips, because there's that whole thing where it's like the mark of the beast, or like
Mark of the beast. What are you talking about?
There's like a whole like conspiracy that came out with RFID chips. I don't know if it started when people started putting them in their pets, but the idea that like the government is putting them on all of us secretly. There was a Mythbusters episode about that. Where it's like when you go donate blood, they put an RFID chip in your arm. And
of course they do not.
They do not. But a lot of it, and some of it is just kind of like personal, where it's like, oh, that's gross. Like, these guys are crazy idiots. Why are they doing this to themselves? Like, they can't get in that mindset of like, they want to just kind of, they are willing to put themselves in danger to either make themselves better or to make the science better.
Potentially be pioneers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and we all know, like, the pioneers, a lot of them die.
Yeah.
In any context ever. That's kind of the point.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are going to die when we go to Mars. A lot of people died when they came to
injuries
America.
Or whatever. Right. You're pushing the limits. You're pushing the boundaries.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And so, like, ultimately, and I think we've kind of spoken to this, what is the difference between this and someone getting a prosthetic arm?
Is that one is approved by science ethically, and one is not.
Right. There's social.
There's red tape. There's a lot of red tape. And they look to just kind of like duck under that and make that available to everybody.
Hence the hacking part.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty rad.
It's punk.
Mm-hmm. It's biopunk, which is like an entire thing.
true.
But I mean, is this like cyberpunk or not?
I don't know. I think biopunk
More because they're not like.
I think once it's like battery powered or like really electronic inside of us, rather than just kind of like stuff that gets read or just kind of like regular magnets and fingers, it's not cyberpunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the cyberpunk too is probably more like the idea of like disconnecting from like the quote unquote meat and just being in the cloud and in the computer and being like, I don't even need this self. Like, I just want to be the brain.
Yeah, if I may, I always thought cyberpunk was almost the opposite of what we're talking about tonight. It's the mental and the abstraction version, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this is one of the stepping stones kind of toward that, where it's like, yeah, we're going to keep teching up our bodies, but eventually, like, we really just want the brain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's actually the goal of transhumanism, is that, like, hey, we're going to ascend beyond illness, beyond, like, hunger, beyond disease, beyond disability.
Biological hunger and disease and all that stuff.
And then beyond bodies. And then we're, like, all robots with brains in them and stuff. And, like,
and then
it's far off and kind of absurd, but it's like, that's where that's in that way of thinking, in that philosophy, that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
What's that? No, Jake, please.
I was going to say, I thought I recalled, and I don't have, I don't know, maybe we can look it up, but I thought that actually there was a lot of scientific research now that was suggesting, just talking about kind of immortality and these things and transition of the human body, I thought there was kind of still even a limit. Like, even if we can cure diseases and have these different things, like, our bodies, our physical bodies, like, actually have, like, you know, it's like 130 years max, and then...
Oh, no matter what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like another pillar. There's a lot of pillars in transhumanism. Where
not,
it's like
that I'm not so sure. Just I'm not. Yeah, I haven't heard too much.
They want to consider aging a disease. Mm-hmm.
It's said that V, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's said that this is fast and loose. These are fast and loose accusations here, I'm going to say, but I remember I was talking about this on the show before. It's said that the average life expectancy of people who are born right now is 500 years, and that the first person who's going to live to 1,000 years is already alive, based on, like, the way that our medicine is curving.
Okay.
You can't really imagine that now, but when analysts look at the numbers, and that is not to say that a body will live past 130 years, Jake, like you're saying. It might actually mean more that it's a little bit of a, if I may, like a bicentennial man kind of situation where it's, okay, fine, your body's living for 1,000 years, but it's because half your body's a robot.
Yeah.
What is it? What is all of that? I mean, we won't know for a while here, but it is fun to speculate about that on this episode.
So I'm just looking here, quick Google search was done, like a New York Times article, but there's studies that are suggesting that, like, 115 years is kind of like the max
for
of,
organic,
like, human
life.
Longevity, as far as being, in our own bodies. So without
that might be
radical,
based on,
drastic changes.
Perhaps that data is based on, like, what we know about cells and cells dying,
right,
and how long we can predict a regular organic cellular life to exist.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, if we come up with technologies that replace those cells, or we come up with, maybe that's where some of this 500,000 years stuff comes from. Mm-hmm. But Jake, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Just something to think. I mean, Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look here. I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time here, but like,
we're kind
this
of
idea of
closing up here.
Upper limit on longevity as far as the human body is concerned, and we might have to replace some parts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, interesting. V, closing comments. Otherwise, we're heading out.
Biohacking is weird but cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I might try it.
Fine.
The more I read about it, the more I was like, I'm not that scared of, like, needles. Okay. I could probably do, like, an RFID chip. I could probably do that. I would just have to look away.
My one fear about some of the body hacking is my same fear with in-house operating systems in cars, and I'm not joking about this. Mm-hmm. Like, I love the Apple CarPlay feature, and, like, Android has that too now with the Google Drive feature.
Yeah.
I hate, theoretically, in-car operating systems because they're always going to be outdated. They're never really super easy to update. I mean, Tesla kind of does it with the over-the-air updates. They're the only one that's really trying to treat cars like they're computers.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a friend who had a built-in GPS system in his car, and every 3 years he had to get, like, a disc from the company. This is only last year.
You have to pay a lot of money still.
And you get this update for the maps.
Both of our cars have GPS in them, and they're like, it's 3 years, and then you need to go in for an update. Or because it has Bluetooth.
Right. Or just use your phone. Let the phone be the smarts.
Sure.
Yeah.
And talk to the smarts that are inside the car. Mm-hmm. And so this analogy that I'm using, this parallel that I'm drawing is, great, I put a chip in my body, but what happens in 3 years when it's obsolete? Just, I'm saying theoretically.
Yeah.
People still type on a typewriter.
Yeah. That's a good counterpoint.
Yeah. I've read that they come out pretty easy too. Like, they as easy as they go, and you just pop them out.
There's a lot of
well, not like right through the skin, like you make an incision and then you squeeze it out like a little pill.
Maybe the difference there though is that with some like technology and stuff, like we do see like planned obsolescence and perceived obsolescence of like this technology changes so quickly. For me, maybe like I find all this stuff very intriguing as well. But one of the largest like things is like, okay, what if I do this and like tomorrow it's like, oh wait, no one's using these things anymore.
Well, a little bit.
And you're like, dang it, what do like I need to like upgrade?
Obsolete
right, and now everyone's using like the next latest greatest, and you're like, dang it, I need another
because
surgery.
Like the next latest and greatest is GPS mixed with bio something or other, right?
Yeah.
Like blood codes.
Because I can't just be like, all right, hand like update to the newest software.
Or maybe at some point, it doesn't sound like what we spoke about tonight isn't the case, but maybe you do update the firmware on said chip. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
or
true.
we do the nanobots and they're so, like, it doesn't matter. Cause
nanobots, I'm so excited about nanobots, but they scare the hell out of me too. I apologize because I think it's going to be very hard to control them once we really bring them into the culture. Because, like, okay, fine, these nanobots have that firmware update. These nanobots have a different, I mean, they're not going to have firmware updates. Let's face it, they're like cells. But
yeah.
I don't want to get into
but we are dealing with data on the cellular level now, David.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So it's like, who knows?
Maybe we save this for another episode.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm talking about next week. Maybe. I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Nanobots or whatever. All right. This is cool. Weird conversation.
Yeah.
I loved it. Fantastic. I wish the best to everyone who's involved in this movement, and I think it's important for society and technology as a piece of expression and also a piece of experimentation.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad you brought it tonight.
Yeah. I'm glad I did too. This was
Cool.
fun to talk about.
Sweet. All right. So if people want to speak with you further about it, they can find you on Twitter
They can find me at bear_Annika.
Marvelous.
With a new name now, though.
Oh,
she changes her name like every month,
I
Jake.
do not. I had
time.
small fry for a good long time. I
I think I've always known you as small fry. So
Yeah.
She was
today,
vegan Splendor before that. It was like all over there.
vegan Splendor. I was vegan Spengler.
Whatever. I'm
It's a-
dyslexic. It looked like vegan Splendor to me.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you now?
I'm Spiff Lopez.
Okay, there you go.
It's my
The other day I got a
it's my Memphis wrestling name.
I got a notification on Twitter. I was like, okay, we get people at reply us and stuff, and I was like, oh, who's this Spiff? Oh, it's V.
It was the exact same thing that happened to me. I was like, okay. Oh,
Yep.
V.
I was like, oh, that's a well
got it.
said tweet,
Yeah.
and it's just V. All right, Jake, if people want to talk with you a little bit about Facebook live streams and what it might take for them to do so, because I'm now deeming you being an expert at it, they can find you on Twitter at...
I've never gone live, but yeah, let's chat about it. What's my Twitter handle? Critical Owl.
It's turned into a little bit of a late night here tonight, a little loose night. Fantastic. People can chat with me. I'm at Raptor Pain on Twitter, and they can talk to me about, I can't remember what I talked about. Oh, yeah.
Raccoons.
No,
Raccoons.
Oh, yeah.
The new competitor for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Raccoons.
Raccoons.
They're hard rocking, trash talking. Oh!
You need to get a job
man.
with Zero Infinity, whatever that company's name was. You need to get a marketing
I'm
manager.
I'm gonna do mascots, and they're gonna be.
They might need more than just a test run, though. They need some more.
Raccoons.
If you want to talk to us about anything we spoke about in tonight's episode, you can tweet us at Technophiles Pod and use the hashtag Technophiles326 if you are so inclined. Also, you can find us on YouTube, Google Play, and iTunes by searching simply Technophiles or Technophiles Podcast. Find us on Facebook by searching Technophiles, or go to our actual website where you can find links to many of the sources that V used for tonight's episode. Our website is technophilespodcast.com. I think that's it for now. We'll see y'all here next week. Something from Jake. Jake's talking about something next week.
I'm talking about
He's
something.
gonna talk about something.
Something.
I don't know what.
All right. Have a good week, everyone.